Ladies and gentlemen, spawning here to the top left side of the map, I need to go on record and say that I am not cheering for him. It's the red Protoss.
Parting.
And as opposed to the bottom right, the blue Protoss. We've followed him through a lot of these qualifiers. It'd be a shame not to watch him again here. It's the blue Protoss.
Trap.
I forgot I took off the echo and reverb so that it didn't sound as cool as normal, but Harding is a good friend of mine, very long time friend. He's one of the few Korean players I've actually had the pleasure to go out drinking with, and that was when I was in Korea. He's a wild boy, he's a fun boy, he's a fellow streamer, but above all else, he is my friend. And we were discussing his matches the other day for the other qualifier, and he asked me to cheer for him. But I am very aware that nothing goes right for poor Rifkin. So I told him if I cheer for him, I'll cast or curse him. To which he says, okay, don't cheer for me. I said, I won't. He says, promise me. I said, I promise I won't cheer for you. So, on record, I am cheering for Trap to win this series and not Parting. All right, guys? PvP. I gotta tell you, I've watched a lot of the Alpha Star games up on YouTube, and I'm not talking about just like the ones I've done. I've been watching some of the others produced. And I think Alpha Star is not, oh God, don't hate me. I don't think it's that impressive. But where I do think it's really impressive is specifically PvP. And I want to see more players adapt to like the One Gateway Nexus opening and other builds that have been proven to work against GMs out of Alpha Star. But Party set up the second pylon over here, and this is kind of a cute move on his part. I don't know if he's really planning to proxy. I actually don't think he is. But when Trap scouts the main base, he's going to see that pylon missing and immediately raise some suspicions of, okay, probably a proxy Stargate, probably a proxy Robo. Got to start looking around and see what's up and where it is. So you actually see the probe checking the corners of the map. This one may have been looking to do something of its own over here, but he is immediately looking to see what Parting has done to him. When Parting's pylon in the middle of the map is just pretty much a mind game. And oh, this is a really clever move. Parting is going to be playing like the big brain mind game plays for this. So that pylon block at his base looks silly, but it keeps Trap from scouting whether Parting's actually taking a natural base or not. This will make him very unsettled because right now all the information Trap has makes this look like it's a proxy of some variety and Parting's not taking a nexus. But in PvP, your nexus timing is huge, especially when it rotates around the third. But we'll get to that later. So for now, you see Trap really investing a lot into stalkers. He's going to find this pylon, and I think suddenly, okay, all the pieces are coming together, and he realizes there wasn't actually a proxy. For Parting, what did this really accomplish for him? Frankly, not a whole heck of a lot. It did make Trap overreact a little bit and kind of go turbo on production for units. He had to scout around the map and look about instead of executing his own plans. And his nexus is a little bit behind. But other than that, Parting's in a weird spot now where he has to face off against 4 stalkers with barely 2. He's got 2 sentries as well, of course, but that shield battery will only last so long. It's a tough fight to take, but looks like he wards off Trap, and Parting actually holds it in the natural very comfortably. So as far as workers go and income, that's actually not going to look too weird. That should actually be pretty close even with this nexus. You'll see Trap transfer some probes down here in a moment too and get caught right up. So there'll be a very, very small spike here in Parting's favor for the money. As far as the way this game progresses beyond that, though, we should note that Trap is going for a Robo right now, plus a Forge. This is kind of interesting to me because if you open with Stalkers and if you go like, say, Blink Stalker, Disruptor or something, oh my god, this is so clever. If you go Blink Stalker, Disruptor or something, the Forge isn't that big of a deal, but look at this. Oh, this is so cool. I didn't even catch him do this initially. Parting uses Warp Prism, and when you transform it into phase mode like this is how you warp units in, but what a lot of people might not be aware of if you don't play Protoss is this actually creates a temporary power field, which allows you to warp in buildings. Now, usually the building warps in and it's unpowered, so it's kind of useless, but this was just a hidden tech building, so that if Trap consistently scouted him, as he is, it's not going to look like Colossus, it's not going to look like Disruptors. Oh, man. I don't know if he's going to get away with this. It looks like Trap is very aware of the style which Parting plays, so he's scouting extra diligently. He does find that Robo Bay. Now, I don't know if Parting's aware that he got scouted or not, but I don't think it's going to change his plans. Still, you just go Disruptor. Disruptors are these kind of units in this matchup where it doesn't really matter whether people see them or not. They still have to react to them. Now, Trap's reaction to this won't be immediate, but it is going to be eventual with a Stargate. If you ever want to embarrass a Protoss player in a PvP, if you see them go Disruptors this fast, go Phoenix. Oh, hold on. Is this a moment of I know that you know that I know, so you're going to cancel the build? Because if he was going a Stargate right now and he went Phoenix, it would actually make a lot of sense. Not only would it help like zone out things like a Warp Prism and give him some map control, the Phoenix would also be able to lift up the Disruptors and cancel their shots. But what Trap's doing, I think, is recognizing that Parting is aware that he's been scouted. So again, it's the I know that you know that I know scenario, where Parting stops building Disruptors because he's aware that Trap is aware that he's going Disruptors. Naturally, you would you think there'd just be a straight counter, and there is. Now, it's coming down a little bit later. I guess maybe Trap had wanted to either prioritize some tech or had realized that Phoenix would come in and scout him. Either way, Parting at the moment is unaware of any Stargate play. He didn't see the first one before it was canceled. He hasn't seen this new one going down yet, but he's also not continuing to invest into Disruptors. In fact, did this Phoenix even see it? No, this Phoenix didn't even see it. But he's oh, he is gonna build another Disruptor, as I say. The missing part to this component though is Blink. It's actually charge coming down. Like typically across many of these matches, you don't have that many endgame compositions for Protoss. There's not a lot of variety to it. Like typically it's charge-led Archons or Disruptor Blink Stalkers or air units, but that's a whole nother can of worms. So it's really weird seeing anything that's in between or otherwise. And that's kind of what we have going for Parting right now. Trap is not really committing to anything too much in one direction. He's very much getting a lot of the standard upgrades you would need in this matchup. All these Stalkers. Trying to push off that Warp Prism. If he had Blink. Not to do I told you so, but if he had Blink, you would have caught that Warp Prism. No question about it. Opting for a third, though, on both sides of this. Traps is on its way significantly sooner than that of Parting's. And the PvP balance for income in a mirror matchup is so delicate that this third base timing, I know it's not much sooner than Parting's. You know, he's already started his. But this is actually a huge deal. This is actually a monumental deal in the matchup. And it becomes even worse if you don't realize that you can take your own third base. So it's a good thing Parting is, it's a little late, but it's not that late where I'm worried about him. Yeah, charge is on the way. And what I was trying to say before he made another Disruptor, and then made me incorrect about my statement, was he was probably going to transition to Zealot Archon behind this and have a couple Disruptors in his back pocket, which is not a terrible idea at all, because those are going to be very good at wiping out Disruptors, but also, or excuse me, Zealots, but they're also going to be very good at helping hit the back line. And oh, even just do moments like this, catches some of the Stalkers right out in the front. First battle begins and 3 Stalkers are dead before it even starts. These Disruptors, of course, are currently on cooldown. Parting's going to have to scoop them up if he wants to keep them alive. Archon's going to try and deal with the Zealots on the left side. Bridge being held here by one Archon on the right side. Zealots getting warped in, gets stuck in behind its own units. Trap's actually not taking the best battle here, despite being up +2 weapons for the battle. That being said, though, Parting loses his Warp Prism, and without that, there's no way to continue advancing safely because he won't have reinforcements. And the power of a Warp in here is going to be very powerful, as Trap has like 800 minerals, 900 minerals banked up. I will say for Parting, though, the coolest part of that fight was the start of it with the Disruptors. Very quick, very explosive, and very much capitalizing on Trap. Third base for Parting goes up. But I guess that's the other thing to highlight. Aside from the upgrade lead for Trap right now, this whole game has pretty much been about money. So with neither player's economy being disrupted much in this game, all these army battles are just really cosmetic damage. Nothing here is really lasting. They're going to both rebuild their units. They're going to warp in new Zealots. Archons out on the front line are a really big deal. These are actually not protected by the layer of Zealots that they normally are, so these Zealots are right on top of them. And as you can see, your Parting has a good chunk of his own army not even fighting because they're stuck behind the units on the bridge. That being said, though, a hell of a fight still going underway. Disruptors are picked up by the Phoenix, so completely nullified, but the fact that it is Archons versus no Archons is really shining through. Trap taps out. G. Parting takes map number 1. Oh, I'm drinking some energy drink right now. It's not doing it for me. It's not waking me up. Folks, in a somewhat unexpected or maybe expected turn of events, Parting leads 1-0 going here into game 2 versus Trap. Of course, to the bottom right, we have the red Protoss player. It is
Parting.
And his opponent to the top left, the blue Protoss.
Trap.
Yeah, there's two core components of why that game got so ridiculous. You got to watch a mirror matchup go down and see a player with +2 weapons lose out to a player with +0 weapons. And surely you're scratching your head going, wait, what? Because the army supplies on paper were pretty close. It didn't look like Trap should have been winning versus losing. It kind of looked like it should have been an even fight. Again, if you just go off of the stats at the bottom, the paper. But here's where Parting was really powerful. One was the Disruptor, sure. It grabbed a lot of the attention and the focus from Traps. Instead of, say, microing his back line, he's trying to pick up Disruptors, right? And that's a big deal, too, because if the Disruptors go off, they're going to kill, like, chunks of units. But it wasn't so much the Disruptors. It had a lot more to do with those Archons. Both players were going to have walls of Zealots as their front line, no matter what. But the key difference was, well, Trap had a lot of single target damage units with +2 weapons. He had hardly any area of effect damage. So I see some people in chat spewing lucky engagement, Mr. Chris, and some others having other comments. The reality was Parting just had better units in play. And he took a real good advantage of that too once he recognized. I don't think if he had seen Trap with his own Archons, like in a numerous enough amount to scare him, Parting would not have pushed across the bridge. 100% certain of this. But he saw an opening, he smelled blood, and he took it. And I like it. And that's what got him the win. I also want to just say real quick, well, I haven't watched a whole lot of Parting in terms of his tournament play. I do watch his stream, and he can be a little extreme. And things like this cheeky pylon and the proxy robo in the last game, they're not just good stream content. They're actually really funny tactics that, as you saw, made Trap go the extra mile, even just now, scouting to see what's going on. Because what this probe is seeing seems a little fishy all over again. I mean, it's the most basic thing you look for in a Protoss base. Trap looks for 2 pylons. Okay, not that crazy, but the other one was finishing up when he got there. Well, at least in game 1. Now, game 2, not quite the exact same case, but the pylon in the bottom left is certainly going to make Trap go, what's going on here? Parting takes a very fast Nexus, but so does Trap. So they'll both be okay with their first expansions. It is usually the third timings where you see that really come into effect. Also, again, quick PSA, guys, because I see some people coming to the channel asking. I don't know what's going on with Rally. I don't know why it's not turning on. I'm going to guess it's just broken. I've submitted a request to their Discord, but obviously with it being 3 a.m. over here for me, I don't know what time it is for them, but it's probably not waking up working hours. So I think today will probably just be without Rally, but that's okay. We still have Stream Raiders. You cursed Trap by cheering for him. No. I'm just not cheering for Parting, okay? That's what this comes down to. I can't cast or curse that which I'm not cursing. Also, we have a Dark Shrine coming for Parting in the back of his base. Now, in ZVP, you don't really think too much of this because it's so standard and usually often used for Archon drops. But now these little shitty pylons the Parting's been sneaking around the map are going to be a little bit better because they're that much closer to getting right across the field. Now, if detection was out, this wouldn't be that scary, and it looks like it will be an observer first to be safe. He finds about this pylon over here. I was a little worried he may have rushed out a warp prism, as sometimes tends to be the case. I also want to point out the Parting warped his Zealot, his first 2 DTs down here way south. It is way out of position compared to this pylon, but he didn't want to give away what he's doing. Oh, Trap's making multiple observers, so this really will not work out for Parting, sadly. This was a really good call on Trap's part too, because I guess, I don't know when he saw it. Maybe it was the last Phoenix passing by. But either way, the call defends the front of the base, and Parting really does not have to commit to these DTs. The beauty is these can become Archons and become a very standard part of the army. This army is chasing really hard, but that observer's super out of position. So I don't know what Trap... he actually risks putting himself exposed at the main base for this. Like, you imagine if Parting was coming with a War Prism right now and just dropped off a DT? Trap would have been wildly out of position. So, I don't know. For me, it feels like Trap's a little maybe on edge. I don't want to say tilted, because he definitely doesn't seem tilted. But he definitely seems a little on edge with his decision-making. It kind of feels like as a result of that last game. The hallucinated Phoenix is a very important thing that both players should be doing. Gives them the information they need about the game. And the pacing of that Phoenix too is one that the cooldown between one to the next one is short enough that if your opponent sneaks in like a third base while you weren't looking, the Phoenix will see it before it gets too out of hand. Most of the time, at least. Finishes off that adept. Okay, so Archons are out. We got a lot of gateways coming up for Parting. Like, production gonna hit overdrive in a second, and Trap will scout this. What about Trap? What's his production cycle looking like? He's just getting a couple more gateways, so a little bit less than Parting. Excuse me. Apparently, I meant to say a little bit less than Parting for now. He builds a couple more gateways here in the back right, so matching warp-ins shouldn't be a problem. Money is where this game is going to come down to it. As far as income goes, you can see it's very back and forth. Ever so like itsy bitsy bitty bitties favoring Trap over Parting, but not by enough to even really mention. Not cheering for Parting Dan's game. Look, guys, if you weren't here for the start of game one, that's on you. Okay? The story's been explained. Now, as this fight goes down, shield batteries are huge. Like, shield batteries are stupid important for this. Hallucinated Archon, brilliant move. Even if Parting knows it's there, just he risks running auto attacks and wasting any damage into that is super unacceptable. Now, he pulls that one Archon back trying to save it. It sadly dies. He's going to keep pushing up on the right side. Zealots are so good for this. But unfortunately, I don't think Parting's got this. The +1 weapons for Trap is really nice, but he's also just starting to really run out of steam here. Parting, that is. He's got this one real Archon that's still going strong here. DT's coming to the mix. Did he just pick off the Observer? I think he just picked off the Observer. Oh my god. Where's Trap's on the other Observer? It's coming in now. A little bit too late. A for effort for Parting on that. But the attack ends up being a huge flop. And I don't know how he recovers from this because, as I just mentioned, there's no tech fallback. That was supposed to be the brute force move that wins the game. So his only option at this point is pretty much just go into DTs and be super cheeky and hope that buys him time and resources to get back into the game. Otherwise, we're kind of in tap-out territory. Oh, the Warp Prism goes down. That's brutal. These DTs don't have blink or anything, so they can't catch these. There are so many of them, though, that it's kind of hard to deal with. But they will be dealt with. Meanwhile, third base is postured, and that's where, if Trap gets that third base up, that's where maybe this could start coming back a little bit, but I don't think so. Because there's really a very specific time Parting could hit if the minerals are invested in another base. And with the army supplies being so close, I don't think Parting could get that overwhelming number. By the way, so more of last game coming to effect here. This Immortal is actually not that big of a deal for the army, neither's the Stalker. It really comes down to the Archons and the Zealots more than anything else. Rally has returned to us. Oh, is it working now? I'll look into that after, guys. Two Archons taking a really good fight, chilling away against the Zealots. These other two Archons for Trap are distracted by a couple of Zealots from the backside out of Parting. So hold the phone. Parting actually flips the script and goes down from being in a pretty like bad and compromised position to now on even footing. I like money. I like money. I'll read the message in a moment. Thank you, whoever that was. But my point for this is the upgrades are going to favor Trap considerably for some time. He's going to be on +2 here very soon, which means any small scale engagements are going to favor Trap in a big way. Any big scale engagements could go either way. The thing about upgrades in PvP, and like, let's be very clear, like +2 weapons on Archons are huge for dealing with the Zealot waves, but positioning is kind of even better. For example, if you're fighting into a concave or up a choke, it doesn't matter if you got +3 weapons, you're going to lose that fight. So there's some positional stuff here that's going to be very important, but also just tactics in general. Parting's chasing really far out against his Warp Prism, but in doing so, his army's about to be caught out over here. He's going to recall upon realizing this is the case. So he'll bleed out a couple of units, but he does save the majority of them. And meanwhile, some DTs are dropped off at the main base. Not quite dealt with, but now it's a present threat. And if the stalkers, I don't think can reach that. There's no recall for this. That war prism's just going to sit there for a while. Wardy has a points reward for 50k. Complain about base trade TV. Wait, why is Wardy so toxic? Wardy gets to be the big dog for 1 month and it goes straight to his head like this. Like, shake my head, dudes. How could anyone support that guy? 50k. I'm gonna make one that's like 1. That'll be like your one opportunity. Just cash in 1 point because that's what Wardy's worth. All right. We do have DTs. Oh, the War Prism gets sniped off on the left side. Party's gonna be the one to tap out this time. And Trap brings it back so that we're gonna go all the way to game number 3. I saw an interesting question on YouTube, so I'll respond to that comment here generally for this video. And one of the questions was like, how do you get into these tournaments to cover them? Well, for the most part, actually, we make and host our own. But for big events like IEM and for the ESL weekly cups and what have you, it's just a simple matter of applying to the right people. You just they literally had a form you fill out, and if you were good, they would approve you, and that's how you can get into cast these games. It's not just like anyone off the street can come. There are limited lobby slots, and they don't want to give them away to everybody. But yeah, we're a big enough channel that we can get into pretty much any game we would like. Some other casters sometimes, sadly, regrettably, will get bumped from the lobby. That used to happen to us years back, but anyways, that's the general gist of it. Just apply. Cast the games, have a good time, put out a quality show. And here we are for game 3. To the bottom right. One more time. We have the red Protoss.
Parting.
And as opposed to the top left, the blue Protoss.
Trap.
Okay, dudes. Okay, dudes. So for Trap and Parting, it's really tough to make the call. I was joking and I was memeing, but I do want to talk about who they possibly move on to face off against. Right now, on the other side of the round of 8, for this particular bracket, Impact is playing against Bunny in a TVZ. I think Bunny's on a bit of a hot streak right now, so this might just be the winner versus Bunny, or it could be the winner versus Impact. Either way, what is funny to see if you look at those brackets is on the other side of the bracket as well, 3 of the 4 players are Zerg. And while over in Europe, oh, this is so funny. Over in Europe, we're so used to complaining about ZVZs, it doesn't actually happen that often in Korea, yet we actually have a pretty heavy Zerg winners bracket. So good luck to all our Korean Zerg fans. Now these two have proxied right next to each other, and oh my god, even the probe scouts are barely gonna notice this. Parting gets the first eyes. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. Oh my god, for a second I thought he wasn't gonna see the pylon. Trap hasn't seen it yet though. Trap still hasn't seen it yet. Now Trap's pylon, as it appears, is more of a meme pylon, or maybe he realizes that that probe came from a very strange angle and is choosing not to overinvest into it. But as the main base gets scouted here, it's pretty confirmed there's a pylon going down. But this is a really clever move out of Parting, because in the previous 2 games he set the precedent that there's a pylon missing in his main base. And in the previous 2 games, it was kind of difficult for Trap to get a handle on whether that was actually a proxy or not. So here we are in a game where Trap's scouting so freaking unfortunate. So he's forced to flip a coin and guess what this looks like. And in PvP, again, there's going to be, oh, the Nexus. This is huge. If Trap doesn't cancel this is 400 minerals. He's going to be down and out. Parting is going to be happy to wield his 3rd gateway against Trap, but also rely on the fact that Trap's going to have less money to win. So in PvP, I mentioned before, your Nexus timing is very important. Parting could go quite some time without taking his, because this battle that we're about to see, if Trap doesn't win this out in the open field, then Parting will likely push him back through the natural into the main, go for a bit of a soft contain. But the reason I say Trap should win this out in the field is because Parting gets he's really late on his 2nd shot there. You see the Stalkers are trying very desperately to kite around. Both players are handling this very well. Recall goes in. Oh, he's not going to quite get that last one. But so Trap doesn't win this out in the open field, which makes this a much more compromised position, where Parting could and should, without over dedicating, Yeah, he takes his own Nexus back at home and he's going to continue his Robo. But his goal of this is to take control of the natural away from Trap and force either a cancel on the Nexus or get a kill. Or better than that, force these units to the bottom of the ramp to take a very unfavorable fight. There's the cancel. Mission accomplished. Parting now, who was behind on his Nexus, is ahead on his Nexus. And that's why this move can be sometimes pretty cool. And when I'm talking about a soft contain, I just mean he wants to keep these units here for as long as possible. I don't know that he would actually dedicate to a fight. I think what we're going to see him do is try and transfer the Adepts, cause some chaos. But other than that, no real commitment. If Trap lets these get through, by the way, it's hugely dangerous. Oh, this is so clever. Trap's warping a couple of Adepts to the low ground outside of his base. They're taking forever to warp in because they're not next to a gateway, but this will actually allow him to send it across the field, where Parting will likely have no defenses. Everything Parting has will be on Trap's natural, waiting to fall back or recall out. So, Parting finishes his Nexus so much sooner than Trap. And Trap does have the opportunity to possibly go all in and counter Parting, but, I mean, that's going to be so much easier said than done. Warp Prism comes out for Parting. These Adepts are about to transfer in. Nice block. Oh my god. This really speaks to the level Parting's playing on. The fact that he had a probe there at all. I think it's very safe to assume complacency for games like this. And putting that pylon there, or excuse me, the shield battery, getting the block off, keeping the Adepts from killing his probes right now is like priority one. He's also managed to put the Warp Prism back into the base, and the reason that's a big deal is because it means now Trap can't go counter pressure with anything. He's just falling behind in income. So Trap, whether he wants to or not, if he can't take his natural, and probably even the next 60 seconds, much less maybe 2 minutes if we're stretching it, he's going to be forced to all in versus Parting. Something I can guarantee you he does not want to do. So he's going to see the natural base has been opened up. The probe there should move down from the higher ground. Oh no. Oh wait, he's actually going all in. Colossus. I saw this being made, but I thought in preparation for Disruptors. Colossus are exceptional though. Here's where Colossus are better than Disruptors. Not damage, not necessarily even survivability, but they can break force fields. Now I've seen Vanya and a couple other Protoss players from Europe do this, and frankly, it's always cool. It's like a 200 IQ play, but it doesn't always work. So Parting's going to have a couple of force fields to rely on for defense, but Trap being all in like this, the clock is ticking, because every minute that Parting mines this out, that's just a huge, big army he's going to bulk up. And small trades with this won't matter as much in 5 minutes as they do right now. This Warp Prism also going to catch Parting really out of position. I believe he's recently burned recall, so it's still on cooldown. So as this approaches the main base, a little bit scary here. Not like GG or anything, but a little scary here. Couple zealots here, very important. I gotta stop saying here. I'm having one of those days where I'm just catching that word that I'm using too much. Over yonder and approaching quickly. The Adept transfer is actually a really good scout for this. The Colossus, big damage against the Adepts, but the Disruptors are big damage against everything. So this is an element of rock, paper, scissors. There's much death associated with it, and no mistakes can be made here. Neither of these players wants to go to the bottom bracket. Either of them would rather stay in the top as long as possible. He's really stretching for a shot with this Disruptor. You can see he very much wants to hit something.
I got too much money.
Hot stuff. Oh my god, that actually startled me. Thank you, whoever that was again. We'll get to that after this game. Big love. Mwah. Parting's building some more gateways. Man, the 2 base thing though, I can't begin to stress this enough. Look at that army grow. Right now, it's not actually that much, but Parting is just like a steady rise. Oh, the first Disruptor shot was good. Takes out a couple of Stalkers. A couple of Stalkers might not seem like much until you remember that Trap has way less units and will have less units as time goes on. He's going for his own Disruptor play behind this, which I think is actually the right call. But it's still off of 1 base. Forcibly off of 1 base, too. Parting's got these shield batteries to fall back to in a pinch. Stalkers don't have blink to get down to the low ground, but he's leaving them up in the high ground on purpose. He knows, A, that his own Disruptors can zone out most of Trap's army, but also B, that if there's any threat to come into the main base, you can jump on it immediately. Now, Bardino, my man, you and the casino fam, glad to see you in the chat. Thank you very much for that raid. Oh, triple kill on that Disruptor. But we're on a 2-minute stream delay for the people from Bardino's stream. You're watching some big Starcraft qualifiers for one of the biggest events of the year. And this is like the last chance for everybody to try and qualify. Our boy Parting's going up against Trap at the moment. This is game 3, and now you're all caught up. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Thanks, Bardino, for the host. The Strapper shot goes to Parting. He shot first. His micro scale engagements just continue to grow further and further apart. Trap is really sweating right now. His income is just not, as soon it's going to be non-existent compared to Parting. Parting is mining 3 times as much money-ish. Oh, that disruptor shot, I think, just sealed the deal. Takes out this Colossus too. G, Parting! Yeah! Takes the series 2-1.